How y'all doing? No, seriously, it has been an interesting 6 months for me in my professional work as a lobbyist and also a strategist on death penalty cases, definitely trying to eliminate its use in America. It does not deter crime, it drains resources, it does not keep people safer, and it doesn't offer victims any type of comfort or justice or solace. If you look at the statistics, my little spiel. So the last two cases that I worked on, a man by the name of Sonny Burton in Alabama, he was commuted by Governor Kay Ivey. His sentence was commuted to life, even though I feel like he should be let out. And then another case that I worked on in Tennessee, a man by the name of Tony Von Carruthers. He had a botched execution attempt in the state of Tennessee. They stuck him more than a dozen times. Could not find an IV line to administer lethal injection, because lethal injection is a cocktail of 3 drugs, and his execution was stopped and he has a reprieve until next year. So both of those cases, super grateful that those men were not killed by the state. So that's what I've been doing, y'all. And also, if y'all care, because this year I'm being a little bit more transparent about like dating and things like that. There was a year where I was just in my bag, like, I don't want to talk about it. I'm not talking about it. I'm talking about everything but it, because I was like, I don't want to jinx myself, like if it just comes out of the blue, and I don't want to be talking about my personal life. But I've been on these YouTube streets for a while. I haven't really been promoting this channel, but I definitely am dating. I'm dating someone, and I'm really excited about this connection because he's putting in more effort than I am putting in, and it's not intentionally. It's almost like a race of us trying to show that both of us are here and both of us are present and both of us want the same thing. So I'm not gonna talk too much about it because y'all know how my love life go. I was engaged and everything, child. But definitely with this connection, I hope that this is something that will last. But for those of you who sped past my updates, here is my breakdown of Is God Is. I was able to see it on Sunday, not the opening weekend, but the week after. It was a rainy, kind of like dreary weekend in Atlanta. And me and the guy I'm dating, we went to see Is God Is, and I wanted to share kind of like my honest reviews. First of all, just out of the theater, I loved Is God Is. I love Southern Gothic revenge type movies. I love movies that are led by all Black cast. I love Black female leads, Black women who get revenge on people that have harmed them. I love that type of lore. First off, let's talk about the characters. The character breakdown was... I'm sorry, y'all. My dryer is super loud and I heard it. The characters in Is God Is, first of all, Mallory Johnson and Cara Young as Racine and Anaya were absolutely amazing. One did not overpower the other, even though they were written with one being kind of like the more codependent twin and one being the more dependent twin. Both of them were able to draw in the audience based off of their personalities and what they offered and the perspectives that they were seeing, what they had to do through. I love the fact that they trusted each other. I love the fact that they had conflict in the movie, even with each other, so it wasn't like a perfect type of twin relationship, and that's more realistic. But I also love like their loyalty and dedication to their mother. Both of them wanted to avenge their mother in various ways. One wanted to come out the gate like swinging, and the other wanted to be more strategic and empathetic about it. So kudos to Cara and Mallory. I look forward to seeing them in more and more things. They did their big one. Vivica A. Fox as the mother who said, I want y'all to make y'all daddy dead. I want y'all to make y'all daddy real dead. We've all seen that in the trailer, so it's no big spoilers, but for the time that she was on screen, like, it was just so captivating. Like, the setting, the lighting, the mood, the staging to introduce Vivica A. Fox's character couldn't have been more perfect. A lot of people say, you know, if you love Kill Bill, you'll like Is God Is. But I will say that similar to Sinners, Is God Is so genre bending. So you don't necessarily have to like Kill Bill. You can like multiple things. You can like Eve's Bayou. You can like again, Sinners. You can like so many, Jordan Peele, Get Out. Like if you like those types of movies, like you will really like Is God Is. It almost felt documentarial at times, even though I was completely aware that I was looking at a piece of fiction. It almost felt like these characters were real and we were experiencing something that they needed to have happen, because all of us have been a part of different situations where we wanted to take vengeance on people. But honestly, for me as a Christian, I believe vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. But if I get into it with you, like, I don't care if your child don't make cheerleading. God is still working on me. But I do believe it's ultimately up to God. But Vivica A. Fox was completely amazing in this. I wanted more of her story. I wanted to know more of how we got to where we are. Like, why does she want to make the father dead? Not just because of the obvious, but what were the situations and incidents that led up to her feeling that way and her ultimately having that? Like, was he cheating? Was he abusive? Was he leading a double life? Like, those are all things that I would want to know. I wish the storyline was stretched out just a little bit more. Josiah Cross as Ezekiel, talk about breakout. Like Josiah Cross's character reminds me of the character in Bad Boys 2 who went to pick up Martin Luther King. Lord, I'm sorry, Martin Luther King. Martin Lawrence's daughter. And there was a whole scene about them giving him like the third degree, like, who are you here to see? I forgot his name. Somebody put his name like in the chat, the character's name. But he did reprise his role on the latest Bad Boys. But yeah, it was so interesting watching Josiah Cross as Ezekiel on screen. I really hope that this is a breakout for him and he books more and more and more roles. But he was such a delight to see on film. There was a lot of avenging of the mothers in this, and you'll find out more and more about it, like as you go see. First of all, support it as you go see the movie, but it just feels like all of the kids were very protective of their mother. Another set of twins that appeared in this film was Xavier Mills and Justin Cross as Scotch and Riley. I believe they were almost kind of like an alternate version of Anaya and Racine. Like, this was them living like a privileged life with their father, like what their father envisioned the first family to be. And that's kind of like commentary on what a lot of men, what a lot of people do when they have, you know, their first wives and their first families, and they end up leaving that family. Maybe they struggled in that family. They didn't have the resources that they had in that first family. And then the second family reaps all of the benefits. Like, you could see that on play, like in the film, that these set of twins that were for the new wife, who was played by Janelle Monáe, I felt like she did a great job with what she was given. I thought she was going to have a much larger role, but the role that she did have, she played it. She played it. Like, she often plays roles that I would want to play. So I think she did a really good job. It's kind of like the new wife that reaped all of the benefits, but you will even see, like, through her storyline, she was ready to like go. She was ready to get out. And it also goes back to that commentary that just because someone leaves you or you break up or something ends for you, that person, if they were horrible to you, they're going to be horrible to the next person. I said that a lot, you know, when I was going through like a big breakup and he jumped into a new relationship. I was like, oh, she's going to get the same person. Like, it's only a matter of time before that person can like hide who they are. They're going to show up as the same person unless they decide to take accountability for what they've done. And that accountability comes with, you know, really saying, I'm sorry. So when you say I'm sorry and you make peace with every single person that you wronged, that's when you will be able to change the course of your life and your situation. Sterling K. Brown as the monster, as the father. How do you do it? Like, Sterling K. Brown can play some characters that like pull at your heartstrings, but he can also play like some assholes. And I'm like, Sterling K. Brown, I like love you so much. Like, I love you and your wife, all y'all reviews of his character. But Sterling K. Brown, like, I literally do not know like how he does it. Like, he can come on screen and make you like hate him, but he can also come on screen like This Is Us and make you love him. So in this particular film, you're going to hate him, and he stays true to that role. Like, there's no redeeming qualities about him at all, but I think he did a great job. The way he was introduced was very delicate, and the director made some really smart choices with his introduction. So Sterling K. Brown, what do you expect? He was great. What I didn't expect, and this was my favorite character, my absolute favorite, Erica Alexander as Divine the Healer. She's like, go on, Satan. Like, she was so good. Like, she reminded me of those women kind of like in deep southern communities, whether they be Georgia or Memphis or New Orleans. These women that have like these folks to follow them based on like a mixture of like religion and hoodoo. And you know, she actually comes from that background. She said that her grandmother or her mother practiced hoodoo and things like that, and I think even voodoo, and infused it in religion, and they were able to go around, or her grandmother or mother went around to different churches giving folks prophecies. So I'm sure she tapped into that because she was so believable. But in the end, you really kind of see like what is her motivation to, and you really see like her weaknesses when it comes to that. Like, I was so in love with all of these characters. My only critique is I just wanted to know so much more about them, but I know the film only had a certain amount of time to do that. I really pray that y'all bear with me when it comes to this video. It wasn't my dryer, it was my dishwasher that was causing all of that noise. That's why it's a little bit more peaceful. I know my character breakdown was a little rough, but let's talk about the setting. There was no better setting than the South to place these two girls, Racine and Anaya, when it came to the vengeance for their mother. When you think about the South, there's so much vengeance there, especially when it comes to indigenous people, people of color, black people, foundational black Americans. There's a lot of vengeance there when it comes to Southern grounds. And we don't often talk about that, how much we need to reclaim those grounds. An organization by the name of the Equal Justice Initiative, they have this project called the Soil Project, where they collect dirt from the ground of where people were lynched to recover that ground and nurture that ground. And I believe placing something, a film like this in the South, was very smart. It was very believable, and folks really did connect with that. Now, even though it had nothing to do with racial terror violence, it had to do with domestic, intimate partner violence, and also family violence, you still believe kind of like that rage that's already down there with folks in the South. Now, ultimately, they did travel, I believe, to to California, which was a little confusing to me. I was like, oh, they were going through the South, but they were going through the South to like collect information about the whereabouts of their father. And then once they found that information, they found that he was on the West Coast. So I believe that the setting was amazing. I love the way that it was lit. I love all of the stops that they came through on their way to find their dad, from the law office to the church to their mother, to just finding all of these pieces of the puzzle and putting them together. I think was really beautifully done. No, it wasn't the dryer. It wasn't the dishwasher. I think it was where I have this camera sitting on my computer and the fan that's in my computer cooling it down. So hopefully this is a little clearer. If it's not, charged to my head, not my heart, I'm gonna push out more videos. The plot is what drew everyone in. These two young girls, even though they were like in their 20s, they almost presented as late teens, because they kind of felt like they were like late bloomers as well, as far as socially. They looked like they kind of kept to themselves, almost like the story of the Silent Twins in the UK. and all of the like lore and mysticism around them. These girls kind of had that. I wondered if the author, what's the author and the director kind of influenced by the Silent Twins in the UK. The characters that you met along the way, even though some of them were a little like outlandish and eccentric, you really believe that you have met one of those people before in your life, especially in the South. The only critique, another critique that I would have when it comes to the plot, like everything felt really rushed. When we met the girls, it felt really rushed. When we met the mom, it felt really rushed. I would have loved to know kind of like the backstory on everyone, like if they would have spent a little bit more time with each one of the characters. Like, when did their father meet Erika Alexander's character? Like, what was their story about? When did he meet the second wife? What was their story? What drew her in? I would have even loved if this would have been kind of like a Netflix series and had everybody on the edge of their seat, like after every episode. But kudos to the director. She did her big one. I thoroughly enjoyed Is God Is. Similar to when Jordan Peele released Get Out, I want to know so much more from her. So go out and support. I love the film, and I hope you will too.